Let's start. Dear participants, as the head of the board of directors of the SER Foundation Germany, I'm warmly welcoming you to the parallel event of the four following organizations, which are coming from three different continents. The Foundation for Subjective Experience and Research, SER. Second, the Sisters of Charity Federation. Third, the Institute of Blessed Virgin Mary, Loreto Generalate. And last but not least, Ergosoma International Ergosome Association. In the name of all four organizations, I would like to express that it is a great honor to host this event during the CSW conference. For the first time in the history of the CSW, we meet on a virtual platform. Preparing this event was a challenge. It was not so easy to find the right time to bring all speakers and the supporting team together because of 14 hours time difference. So even now, for some speakers, it's quite early, like for Miss Gertie Jocks from Vancouver. So Gertie, where are you? I cannot see you. Are you there? Yes, I can see you. Hello.
Hello, hello.
So what time is it now, Gertie?
It's just 6 a.m., just
Oh
after
my
6 a.m.
goodness. So you are an early bird today, right?
I am.
So, so for all of you who joining us, we would like to say thank you for registering for our event. In the next 90 minutes, we will be listening to four different aspects concerning the priority theme, the impact of reconciliation to empower women and girls from different backgrounds in public life, peace processes, and healthcare. So I would like to ask the technical team maybe to start the PowerPoint and that we can look page number 1, if it's possible for you. And in the meantime, I would like to introduce the first speaker representing the Foundation for Subjective Experience and Research, SER, Ms. Josephine Brecht. She is head of UN NGO Affairs and main UN NGO representative. So, hello, Josephine. I can see you.
Hello, everybody. Glad to see you all and warmly welcome you. Let me start with our cause. The SER Foundation recognizes the uniqueness of each and every individual, respects all religions, strives for a peaceful coexistence, and values a mindful treatment of the universe. This is from our preamble. Working for reconciliation and peace, the Foundation for Subjective Experience and Research strives to implement the reconciliation philosophy of Rómulo Valera Tajón as indispensable precondition to get into sustainable peace and to bring the impact of reconciliation to awareness on a global level, like via UN conferences and platforms, by resolutions, sponsoring workshops and side events, making oral and written statements, as well as theme proposals, participating in planning committees and providing exhibits and speakers. Reaching out to people and organizations who engage and work for reconciliation and peace worldwide by organizing international reconciliation weeks, the 2009 UN Reconciliation Year, and by awarding reconciliation projects, as well as reconciliation diplomacy of member states, governments, and celebrities, is part of this philosophy. A wide range of reconciliation projects initiated by the Foundation for Subjective Experience and Research and a great network of organizations working for the same goals is to be found on our webpage, ser-foundation.org. And we would highly appreciate if this network grew with your help and initiatives. In this spirit, for the CSW65 parallel event, The Foundation for Subjective Experience and Research provides a platform for 3 organizations showing best practices to implement reconciliation, starting with oneself and further on having impact on family, friends, neighborhood, work and jobs on a personal level, but also on health, education, politics, economic and social issues, and finally, a global level, when reconciled human beings get into real sustainable peace. To give you a very little insight of a first step into reconciliation, Dorothy Harbick, I hope she's there, and Heike Kahler will lead you there by asking some questions for oneself. Heike and
Dorothy. So
Dorothy.
I'm afraid that Dorothy got lost. Marion, could you grab Dorothy? Can you maybe just talk to me?
I'm here, Marion. Heike.
Ah,
Okay.
you're there.
Okay.
Okay,
We managed.
fine.
We
Got it.
managed it. We did
Thank
it.
God. Thank God you
just made
you
it.
make okay. So
Okay.
thank you, Josephine, for informing us about the cause of the SAR Foundation. So the main concern of the SAR Foundation is to promote peace through human dignity. This offers ways for social action through interactive awareness and understanding, both of which raise collective consciousness. So I would like to have now PowerPoint page 3, please. Please go back to page number 3, the technical team, thank you. Human potential matures and it's attained through self-awareness and the development of consciousness. This inner journey, as a former second UN Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld stated, leads to self-acceptance, another word for peace. This path leads from subjective experience to reconciliation, resulting in peace. Every contact with this totality encompasses mankind and nature. The result is active metaphysical involvement. So as we have mentioned before, one of the main issues of the SAR Foundation is to promote reconciliation and peace worldwide. Due to our mission, it is fundamental for each of us to be aware of the subject of reconciliation. So allow me to introduce the second speaker, Ms. Dorothy Harbick, UN NGO representative and also DGC representative, which was before the DPI. So hello, Dorothy. I'm so happy to have you on board. Finally.
Yes, thank you. I finally made it. It's been a little difficult.
So Dorothy, let me raise a question to you. So, and now we need please the PowerPoint page number 4. Where does reconciliation start, Dorothy?
Yeah, Heike, that's interesting question. In order to answer that, we have to look again at the 4 objectives of the SER. And the first one is subjective experience. And that's where it all starts with you. So we have the 4 objectives again: subjective experience, self-awareness and consciousness, reconciliation with yourself and others through self-respect and acceptance, and peace of mind. So I have to add something to this because some people just see themselves. This universe can't exist by itself. People, like plants and animals, must coexist. You can't just live by yourself. They influence each other. They are dependent on each other, and they stand in a reciprocal exchange with each other. So in order to understand the other person, to overcome differences, to achieve mutual respect and compassion, especially across political lines, we have to look to the self. Now, I'd like to take you on a short journey back in your life during which you had a subjective experience, because this is the first step of reconciliation.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we have to go to page number 6. Gringo, please. Can you help us? So one more, please. So very good. So.
Okay, wonderful. So try to remember a time in your life during which a great demand was put on you, or during which you found yourself in a conflict situation. And then try to recall the feelings you had at that time.
Mm-hmm. So, Dorothy, but I can imagine that people have different feelings. Maybe
Right.
for one person, an exam or applying for a first job is really exciting, and others found it frightening. So most people may consider demands to be negative. You know, for example, I can remember my separate from my long-term partner or losing my father put intense demands on me, and I was very sad for many years. So, and for that reason, I would like to repeat the question to you, to the audience. Please remember a major burden that was put on you. And Dorothy, can it also be a positive demand?
Of course. You know, sometimes in your circle of friends or your family, someone has married, maybe someone had a baby, maybe you became a grandmother or a godmother. So now that you have something concrete in your minds, let's take a closer look at, or each of you to yourself, and answer the next question. How did you handle and resolve the situation?
So maybe this means that the person changes his mindset or a behavior pattern to achieve a positive result.
Right. Yeah, this happens first in the mind. So I want to say something about that because, you know, the world has been developing on a fast pace, but horizontally for actually hundreds of years. And this has reached a saturation point. So now, in order to continue expansion, we no longer have to move or no longer can move horizontally. We must move vertically. So we're going into depth. The time has arrived in which each individual must now expand his or her own consciousness and awareness to empower himself in order to perceive and understand members of his family, his community, and mankind. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you to go back to that question, to that experience, and I'm asking you then, what did you learn from this experience about yourself? Because it starts with the self. We are now on at consciousness. Mm-hmm. Since there are feelings also involved, I have to ask you, are you able to face the feelings now that you had? And if a similar demand occurred today, would you handle it likewise? There is a little something that I should mention on the side, because we talk about learning. We're not talking about here learning to in school or learning, going on to receive a master's or a doctorate. We're talking about learning as the process of becoming aware of something. For example, it's okay to make mistakes. Some people say, no, you have to be perfect. It's not possible. What do you say about that, Heike?
I think you are right, Dorothy. I mean, we all had our stressful situations where we made mistakes. And I think we can all say that we have learned from our mistakes, or we should have learned from our mistakes.
Right.
I mean, from my perspective, these mistakes helped me in my life to become a more reflected person. Self-awareness is an unavoidable step toward reconciling with oneself. But I also had to accept my weaknesses.
I think that's exactly the point. And therefore, that brings us to the next subject, reconciliation, and the next question. Is there some weakness or quality in yourself that you are now able to accept? If you accept your weaknesses as well as your strengths and your ambitions, you will, as a woman, achieve more stability and resilience. As a woman sees, accepts, and respects these qualities in herself, and then of course in others, she will be more enabled to achieve her goals. When a woman is empowered, she feels more worthwhile. And you know what? Maybe she'll get that master's degree, or if she's in a rural community, she will acquire an elevated position in her community. Okay, now we're going to look at the person vis-a-vis. This is the next question. Take a look at some person in your home, maybe on the job, maybe in politics, someone who has some behavior pattern or ideas which are difficult for you to accept. Is it possible to accept his or her behavior in order to improve the relationship with that person? This isn't necessarily easy. I know what I'm talking about here. I've had a little problems with this on the job. All right, we take it one step further. Can you put yourself in the shoes of that person in order to understand why he thinks as he does? What do you say about this, Heike?
So, but how does it feel? I mean, is it how does your father or your neighbor perceive you with your strengths and weaknesses? Or do either of them have more understanding of you? Or maybe does it mean, do you now have more respect for your mother, father, or neighbor? So looking back, does the result give you more energy today? I think this is also a very important point. Do you have more energy in your life?
Yes.
So, and could you focus this energy to lend a helping hand to a needy friend down the road? So, and at least, does it make you feel peace of mind?
I think that's good, Heike, because then we're bringing the other person into the picture, and you're also working at yourself at the same time. So the next question ties in with that. Have you profited from this perception without giving up yourself? I have found myself many times in a relationship where I gave up everything for the other person, and I gave up myself also. No, you have to keep yourself. So the next part of that would be how? How? We're now at the end, actually, of our questions. So what I would ask you now is, if anyone here would like to inspire us with an example of how he or she overcame differences or achieved harmony in a private or public conflict. And again, we really don't have the time now to do this online, but we are going to extend this conference with another Zoom conference, and we would welcome all of you to write down your comments and join us in a Zoom session where you can write in chat what you think. Maybe we can learn a lot from you in as feedback, what you've learned from us.
Yeah.
Okay, Heike, thank you very much, and thank all
thank
of you,
Dorothy. Very
there.
happy to have you here. And I would like now to give to Josephine to give us some more a conclusion of this event from SER. Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for providing us a glimpse of self-awareness, of reconciliation, which is especially needed for women in these times of the pandemic, when women have to care for their gender equality in business and leading positions, or to get along with violent partners, double burdens as working moms, with home office and kids around them, with homeschooling, the whole range of problems. And going into this, you can feel the importance and the impact of reconciliation to get into sustainable peace, which is the indispensable precondition to get into order. Without peace, you cannot find into order. And finally, justice. There is no justice without order and before getting into peace. Reconciliation, peace, order, and justice. That's the most important task for the whole mankind, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you, Josephine.
So I would like to please the technical team just to show our webpage. So if you would like to have more info of the SER Foundation, you're welcome to visit our website. And here you can also see a lot of other peace projects worldwide, just promoting peace. So, and I would like to end our part in the memory of a great human being, the first chairman and head of the SAR Foundation and the UN team, Romulo Valera Tayon. Path to peace, protecting human life, is a sacred duty. Upholding human dignity is a sublime mission to fulfill. So thank you for listening to our part, but it's not the end. And now I have a great pleasure to introduce Miss Gertie Jux from the Sisters of Charity Federation, and she will now talk about contemplative dialogue to bring diverse groups to speak together. So it's your floor, Gertie. Where are you?
Thank you very much. I'm
welcome.
delighted to be here. It's an honor to be with all of you and to speak with you today on contemplative dialogue. I'm going to share my screen. So I'll do that first. I'll bring my PowerPoint up. Oh, excuse me for a second. I missed my slideshow. I have to put it on a slideshow. Okay, here we are. So once again, thank you very much. I want to speak today about contemplative dialogue, bringing diverse groups to speak together. I was first introduced to this contemplative dialogue in my community, the Sisters of Charity of Halifax, and we began to use it several years ago when we wanted to find ways to go to deeper places in dialogue together. The Leadership Conference of Women Religious in the United States introduced contemplative dialogue to us several years ago under the leadership of Sister Liz Sweeney. We were particularly interested in the emphasis on a deeper communion among us that can arise when we move into these places together. At that time, our leadership began to make contemplative dialogue a practice when appropriate for their meetings. Not all situations call for contemplative dialogue. It is helpful to think it is helpful when we want to speak with others to discern significant decisions or to think about questions that are important to you and to come to a shared decision. It's not helpful, for example, when you are planning an agenda for a meeting. So we live in very challenging times, and the need to be able to come together with others for direction and decision-making seems ever more vital today. As we recognize that this is not the time for charismatic leaders, rather this is a time for communal leadership. The challenges facing us of violence against women, climate crisis, racial injustice, migration of peoples, poverty, starvation, and joblessness all demand the wisdom and experience of many. These are not only individual challenges, but they are primarily communal challenges. These challenges are best met with the leadership and wisdom of a community of concern coming together. While many of our dialogues are informative, they are not transformative of individuals or cultures. These times call for transformation. It calls for a new level of consciousness. As Albert Einstein says, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we use to create them. How can we enter into the space where we are open to transformation? Sister Liz Sweeney states that it will be through learning to grow our capacity to create fields of presence and love. She believes that doing this higher kind of wisdom sharing is what will make the changes because we are in relationship. This process helps us to be in relationship in an intentional way. When we are in relationship together, we create shared fields of embodied love and presence, she says. Contemplative dialogue will influence how we show up in the world. When you go deep enough, you experience the connectedness of all. And contemplative dialogue seeks to honor an individual at their core. It honors the sacred worth of each person. By showing up and interacting with others, we honor the other. As a result of this practice, you will find yourself more reflective before, more mindful during, and more reflective after. So we'll look at an overview of contemplative dialogue. And contemplation itself is understood as a long, loving look at the real. The practice of contemplation begins before we come together. We can prepare our hearts to be present, open, and loving. It calls for an inner disposition, an open mind, a commitment to truth, to see with fresh eyes, an open heart, a commitment to love, to walk in the shoes of another, an open will, a commitment to courage, to let go of fear, and the new will come. When we reflect on a particular issue or situation, we are invited to speak from the heart, to say what is really going on for us. It's a way of being together with the intention of listening deeply to one another. We listen with an inner silence that creates space where something new can emerge. Usually we sit in a circle of 6 is a good number for sharing. And we are a circle of equals. No one is in charge. We are all peers. No one is teaching, dominating, or persuading. Our intention is to create a field of presence and love that is grounded in our deepest core, in our hearts. And it translates our thinking and feeling into a language that creates a shared meaning. So the practice of contemplative dialogue begins first by creating a container, which is you begin with a few minutes of silence. We begin by sharing together how we are and how we come to this space together. In this, we create a container through the power of story and through the willingness to be vulnerable with one another. The container is the place that makes it safe for everyone to explore how they feel, what they think, and to do that with honesty and authenticity. So we begin the contemplative dialogue then with a question that we want to explore together. Contemplative listening, the skills for contemplative dialogue. First, contemplative listening. We listen attentively with curiosity. We listen to understand each point of view and with a kind of receptivity without judgment. Pay attention to our feelings. Be aware of judgment and cynicism or fear that can block our listening. It is an inwardly present and reverent type of presence. It's important that we look at the person that's speaking, listen attentively without thinking, what am I going to say? That's a hard one. Contemplative speaking, to speak briefly, say what really matters to you, sharing what is rising up in you in that present moment. It is best to do this sharing with an economy of words. In the course of our conversation and in our circles, we avoid what we call crosstalk, that is, addressing one person at the table. Try to take in the entire circle. We want to speak from our center. What is it that you are thinking? What is it that you feel? Say it in a few sentences and then stop. Allow yourself and your group to pause. Before everyone speaks, you want to return again and again to that inner silence. In the silence between each person speaking, try to receive the impact of their message. Pause to reverence the sacredness of the other. that person's thoughts and feelings. And just a bit overview, we begin with silence. We have a check-in where we create the container of trust. Then we present the contemplative question, the question that we are dealing with. And then again, that silence, listening, speaking, back and forth. And we share our experience together. So when we've come to a point together where we have a particular issue that we've come to a contemplative understanding about, we create a provisional decision. Perhaps we need a writing committee to do this, but then you test the felt sense of the outcome of the dialogue. What is there a felt sense of harmony, of unanimity, of one mind, of one heart? And then acting. We assume responsibility to act on a decision to the best of our ability with assurance and trust. So thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Gertie. Can you hear me now, everybody? I was just switching off my microphone. So thank you very much, Gertie, for this interesting report about comparative dialogue. And now I would like to introduce our next speaker from the Institute of Blessed Virgin Mary, Ms. Teresa Vamoyo Vachira, and she will report about addressing violence against women and girls with legal system and its challenges. So Vamoyo, where are you?
Yes, I'm there. Let me try and...
You can open your PowerPoint, please, and maybe the
yes,
technical can put you in front of...
Yes, I'm trying to... There seems to be a screen problem here. Just give me a minute. Sorry, give me a minute because I may have to use the one you sent.
So you're under host 500, so maybe I can...
The problem is there's a screen I'm trying to remove and it won't go. Is Gertrude still presenting us? Maybe Gertrude needs... sorry, just...
so
there
maybe
seems to be a...
So maybe the technical team can help you. Gringo, we have the PowerPoint from Vamoyo available. Can you maybe help?
So just give me a minute. I think there's something is happening here. Just a minute, please.
So we have you now on the screen.
Okay.
Can you see? Maybe is this okay? So
let me see if I can see you. I'm not. Yes, I can see. Thank you. So welcome everybody. Sorry, I'm not able to move the PowerPoint. Or you are going to move it for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So please could you first go to the first slide? Thank you. So I'm addressing the violence against women and girls with legal system and its challenges. And I'm going to use the case of Kenya. Second slide, please. Now, the presentation, these are the key areas I'm going to touch on. The introduction, and then I'm going to look at the different forms of violence against women, and then the legal systems of addressing this violence, and then the challenges in reinforcing the laws and policies on violence against women and girls in Kenya. In the introduction, I would like to put into consideration the following. So throughout my presentation, we shall have this at the background, the intersectionality of women and girls. So it's to remember that even though women and girls experience violence, they experience violence differently because they are different in terms of age, in terms of maybe of their religious affiliation, where they are placed, and so on. And then the experiences of violence also are not the same, even though, sorry, there's a screen coming. Okay, yes. Even though the women experience violence, they experience it differently. And then the law also affects them differently. So their responses will also be different. Then the legal frameworks are not in isolation with the international laws that Kenya has ratified. Next slide, please. Now yes. Now that is Kenya, the context on which I'm going to talk about women violence. If you look at the top, the northern part of Kenya is very different from the coastal side of Kenya, and also very different from the central part of Kenya, where Nairobi, which is the city center, is placed. Now, in the north part of Kenya, this is arid area and also semi-arid. Therefore, women along here have to go long distance to look for food, to look for water, and also medical care. So often women around this area have to carry arms, small arms and light weapons to protect themselves against the violence, especially cattle rustling. Then we have women who live near the coast area, and those who live near on the western side, which is there is a lake there, also face different challenges. At the coastal area, you have women tourism. So women experience different forms of violence here because of the tourism industry. On the western side, where you have the lake, women tend to engage in fishing and also experience some violence, especially what we call fish for sex. Before they can be allowed to buy the fish, sometimes they have to engage in sexual intimacy with the fishermen to be allowed maybe to buy the fish and to take it to the market. So those are different challenges for women. Therefore, while we talk of violence against women, we have to remember where they are placed and what type of challenges they are facing. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, sorry, is the other, the next one, sorry. Next, yes, thank you. Now, the Republic of Kenya is a sovereign state, and also this state, the constitution indicates that Kenya belongs to the people of Kenya. So it gives the power to the people. And the population is over 54,000 citizens, which is 0.70% of the world's population. And in terms of gender, the female are more than male. As you can see from that data, the median age is 19 years, and some people put it as 20. The life expectancy at birth, we notice is 60 for women and 59 about for men, but some people place it as 70 or 69. Then the youth population is the greatest, as we can see that only 2.7% are over 65 years of age. Then the literacy level, we look at the men are more literate than the women, and this has also to do with culture. Next slide, please. Then more information on Kenya in terms of general background. Kenya experiences periodic violence, especially around election time, every 5 years, terrorist attacks, and then also proliferation of small arms and light weapons. And this, of course, has effect on people's livelihoods and especially has adverse effect on women. Then the religious background, Kenya is a Christian country, but also we have a population of Muslims and other religions, traditional Hinduism, Buddhism, etc. And then it is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, the population is multicultural and multi-ethnic, and mostly, as you saw there, the map of Kenya, we have what we call counties, And a lot of the communities live in those counties, but you find that in the rural areas, the people who live around share a culture and language and beliefs, mainly. But those who live in cities, you find they have diverse cultures. And of course, in the cities, we have informal sectors where we have what we call slums. And of course, these situations have a bearing on women and violence. Then economic background, Kenya is mainly agricultural and trade and tourism. However, the women's labor is mainly not quantified. Next, please. Thank you. Now, the violence I'm going to look at 6 types. However, there are more. And also this particular violence displays itself differently. So we have the domestic violence, which is intimate partner violence, sexual violence, e.g. rape, human trafficking in its different forms. However, human trafficking in Kenya hasn't really been highlighted much, and there's still denial that that exists. Then cultural violence, where violence is normalized, and especially against women because of the culture. Then FGM and early marriages, which usually we refer to it as early child marriages. Then economic related violence due to illiteracy levels and overdependence on men. Next, please. Next, thank you. So when we look at that violence, I would like to look at an aspect of our constitution so that we place all the legal aspects of the frameworks that deal with violence against women. Now, Chapter 4 of our constitution is the Bill of Rights. And generally, this gives fundamental rights to everybody, women included. So as you can see there, the Bill of Rights is an integral part of Kenya's democratic state, and is the framework for social, economic, and cultural policies. And these apply to women. Next, please. So the purpose of recognizing and protecting human rights and fundamental freedoms is to preserve the dignity of individuals and communities, and to promote social justice and the realization of the potential of all human beings. And these include women as well. Now, I would like to look at the legal frameworks that influence gender-based violence. And in this case, I'm looking at women specifically. So we have the Constitution, we have those legal frameworks you are seeing there. We have the Sexual Offense Act, we have the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation, the Children's Act, and the Counter Trafficking in Persons Act, and the Penal Codes, which have different amendments. Now there is a continuation, and I would like to specifically look at this specific Constitution of Kenya Article 256. 5 states that the general rules of international law shall form part of the law of Kenya. And the second one, any treaty or convention ratified by Kenya shall form part of the law of Kenya under this constitution, which means that the Constitution of Kenya, recognizes the international law. And this is very key when we consider what is happening about legal rights for women. Now, application of these laws. We find that they govern the treatment of all persons and their protection, whether they are at home, in schools, places of work or worship, etc. And this, of course, will apply to women as well. Then the cultural application, we have traditional laws where the values, the beliefs and norms are passed from one generation to another. And I would like to stress this, that these traditional laws are passed through the 5 senses. And when you pass knowledge through 5 senses, it tends to entrench itself in the lives of the people. So that has a bearing, especially on the violence against women, especially what we call the female genital mutilation, early marriages, matrimonial rape, etc. Then structural application through guidelines and policies dealing with the structures. So all these laws are documented and articulated, but how are they applied in the day-to-day living, and especially for the women of Kenya? Sorry, the one before. Oh, sorry, next, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Now, the enforcement of laws, for instance, we have the FGM and sexual violence, e.g. rape, early marriages, and child safeguarding. We have the affirmative action for girls, which is especially in tertiary education, where girls enter with less marks than the boys. Then we have, of course, the Constitution, which has stated that we should have 2/3 gender rule in parliament. And then the policies and guidelines on inclusion of women. So we do have women in positions of power. For example, in security, economy, youth and gender, sports, and also in the Ministry of Education. Next, please. Now, we also have organizations that empower women, especially those experiencing gender violence. We have what we call FIDA. These are women lawyers. Then we have the Gender Violence Recovery Center under the Women Hospital. And the Women Hospital deals with women issues. Then we have the Beyond Zero, the Beyond Zero is an initiative of the First Lady of Kenya, and it's specifically to improve maternal and child health and to reduce the new HIV infections among children, and also to empower women with fistula through free surgical interventions. Next, please. So I would like to concentrate on the challenges, because as we have seen, there are those laws that support women in terms of gender violence, so like they are enacted and they do try to deal with that. However, we have challenges, and I would like to dwell on this because this is where we come in. The challenges, one is gaps in the different legal laws. For instance, the legal dilemma of how to address the issue of sex between minors, the issue of matrimonial rape. We also have gaps where for example, the Sexual Act bill has some regulations that when you now look at the Child Act, you find that the two have contradiction, especially the age of consent. Then culture, traditional practices, which normalize violence against women. We have wife battering, wife inheritance, female genital mutilation and early child marriages, and matrimonial rape. So now the cultural practices, even though they go against the laws of Kenya, sometimes this is kind of trivialized. And when the women report, they tend to be told, you consented when you got married. So that's a big challenge. Then the structures. We have structures that entrench marginalization and muting of women's voices. For instance, through exclusion of women in different tables of decision-making, and the salient culture of impunity that sometimes protects those in power from prosecution. Then corruption and threats, especially for women who go and report rape or report abuse, they are threatened and sometimes they are given money to keep quiet. And even in schools, in cases of schools where girls are raped by their own teachers, these sometimes parents do an outside court settlement. Next, please. Then the denied right to protection of women, for example, lack of facilities that enhance security for women and their well-being. For example, lack of safety net centers, clinics, safe recreation centers, street lights for women to walk freely and accompanied by men. So like having no street lights makes the women kind of depend on men or having to go in groups and so on. Then lack of law to address matrimonial rape. This is very, very serious because Many women are raped in the home. They have really no consent about their intimacy, but it's looked at normal. Like the fact that you got married, you should, it's a right for the man to have sexual intimacy, even if the woman has no consent to it. Then a willingness to challenge traditional and church laws that exclude women and their voices through enhancing certain women traditional roles, where women, even though they are working, they still have to do the normal activities at home, the normal duties, the normal chores. Then ineffective enforcement of legislation, for instance, women protection to claim their matrimonial property. Next, please. Lack of reinforcement of all security laws, especially in the public transport, where women have to go, for instance, in what we call boda boda, their motorcycles, and the women sometimes are raped or there are different abuses, but sometimes it's difficult for them to report these cases. Then we have lukewarmness, lack of political will in application of laws, especially when they apply to women. For instance, cases of representation in parliament, courts, position of power in security sectors, and rape cases. What I mean by security positions, having police centers where we don't have many women in those positions so that they can listen to women issues. Then of course, the illiteracy levels among women in the rural areas, especially making them more vulnerable to violence. Next, please. So what is the way forward? How do we respond to this violence? One, I would see as empowering the girls by allowing them to make choices of matters such as FGM and early childhood marriages. And this also applies to women as well, that we empower the women. The government can enhance collaboration with faith-based organizations and groups of women religious congregations already involved in addressing gender violence. And I would like to highlight IBVM Loreto Sisters Kenya, engagement through the Loreto Abundance Center here in Kenya that is addressing FGM and its adverse effects such as fistula, trauma, early child marriages, and school dropouts through research and training in the alternative rites of passage. Next, please. We reinforce the legal frameworks by working closely with organizations such as the ones I had mentioned earlier, Federation of Women Lawyers, Coalition on Violence Against Women, Gender Violence Recovery Centers, that we reinforce that because they are actually working in line with the women that are abused to see that the laws are applied. Next, please. Collaboration with men organizations. We have a male organization that while it deals with not only the men who are abused, but it also includes women that are abused as well. So working with the men, because what affects women affect men as well, because men have to be brought on board if we have to address issues of systemic violence against women. Next, please. Then address cultures and structures that marginalize women and girls by empowering women in all aspects of their lives, that is socioeconomic, political, and cultural. And then advocating and ensuring that the laws and policies on women's active participation in parliament, for instance, are operationalized so that women are brought to the different tables of negotiation and decision-making. And here I point out they should not be brought as an agenda item to be discussed, or tokenism, or even through mouthpiece of other people. But women should speak with their own voice and in their own right. Next, please. Then in conclusion, Kenya has ratified different conventions, protocols on empowerment of women and on elimination of any form of violence against women. Therefore, Kenya must be at the forefront of ensuring that these conventions are executed and that the national legal frameworks on gender violence, especially against women, are operationalized. So we will push towards that. That it's not just about assenting to laws, but those laws have to be applied, and that violence against women should not be encouraged in any society, or even violence against girls as well. And so in conclusion, I would like to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to share about Kenya and about the women and what they are experiencing, but also to acknowledge that the women themselves are beginning to speak for themselves. However, we need to move more. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Vamoyo. So I thank you very much for the haunting report on the difficult life situation of young women in Kenya, but also about the help provided by the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary, among others. And women must empowered and supported not only in Kenya, of course, all over the world. And so let me now, and I think the next lecture from the international, from Ergosoma International, will show us about the strengthening health perception, self-healing power, and resilience of migrant women with Ergosoma migra. So I would like to introduce as the first speaker, Ms. Anke Schmidt-Bratzel, and also in the following the speaker, Ms. Monika Volkmar, Ms. Bärbel Pegel-Nielsen, and Ms. Serap Tanis. So you're very welcome. So Anke, are you there? Yes, I can see
Dear
you.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the workshop part of Ergosoma International. We see the United Nations as a global forum to empower women and traumatized persons globally, a forum to promote healing and resilience. Our vision is health for change. In today's session, we would like to introduce you to the Ergosoma Healthcare Program, and most of all, a project for social mediators, migrant women and men, where we put into practice and let you experience too. My name is Anke Schmidt-Bratzel. In the following 30 minutes, I will talk with 3 wonderful speakers who will share their expertise. Welcome, Monika Volkmar, Bärbel Pegel-Nielsen, and Serap Tanis. So how to proceed in order to fully participate and shape and create our reality? We like the steps in the following quote of St. Francis of Assisi. Start with what is necessary, then do what is possible, and suddenly you can do the impossible. Let me introduce to you Monika Volkmar now. She's teaching and working with Ergosoma as the main method in her practice of complementary medicine in Germany for 18 years now. It is a great pleasure, Monika, to be here with you. Can you tell us what is the approach to health in Ergosoma?
Hello, you're welcome. As usual in modern medicine, Ergosoma does not focus on illness or disease, but on what is healthy and good. Ergosoma is a holistic method of healing which has roots in ancient Asia. It is developed by Arvid Taillon as a healing part of the power of the inner source in oneself. It is complementary to other art of healing, scientific or traditional, and you can use it either for prevention or for support of other therapies. Ergosoma is looking for the powerful resources of the inner core.
Okay, so we start with the focus on our inner resources, the healthy and good that is always there. As sometimes for various reasons, due to individual traumatic experiences and stress, it is not easy to get this connection to the positive and healthy side in us. Therefore, later on, you will explain more and show us something practical. The photo the next photo you are seeing was taken at the ZIP Center for Integration and Education in Germany during the project Ergosoma Migra. Mediators of the center from 6 different countries pursue an annual qualification program, a really amazing grassroots best practice project. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Serap Tanish. Serap, you were 5 years old when you immigrated to Germany. Today, you are the managing director of the ZIP in Oberhausen and are head of area. You have been recently awarded for your work with the Talent Award of your region. And let's say it frankly, Serap, with your deep commitment for the people in your center and your team, you carried the project Ergosoma Migra to life. What was your vision?
Yes, hello. Yes,
Hello.
my vision was to help and support people, especially mothers. And therefore, I founded ZIP, the Center of Integration and Education, in 2011. Education makes you and your family richer was my motto. Mainly, it is about the entry and re-entry into the working life. I realized that I don't have the time alone to help so many people. So I qualified mothers with a migration background as multipliers. To date, 100 participants of my qualification have been trained for 1 year to become mediators in the field of education and health. My goal was to place them in work afterwards. Nearly 40 of them are working meanwhile for the ZIP. Others are working in several areas and institutions. For this purpose, a close cooperation with the city, the health department, the youth department, and other institutions is very important.
So you are doing both, closely helping so many people at your center and at the same time cure corporations, find sponsoring. So when more traumatized refugees were coming in 2015 to Germany and to your center, you were in close dialogue with Bärbel Pigitz-Niesel from Ergosoma Foundation. The Ergosoma Foundation provides various projects in health, for example, for intensive health caregivers in hospitals in Germany, enhancement of empathy, training of team building, and burnout prevention. Bärbel, you are an Ergosoma trainer and a long-term teacher in health services and responsible for 2 very important projects of the Ergosoma healthcare program that address post-traumatic disorders. We see you in the following photo with a team and participants after the devastating earthquakes in Nepal. How did your experiences in Nepal influence your recent project Ergosoma Migra in Germany?
First of all, hello to everybody. And since 2004, I had already been giving treatments to traumatized people in Nepal. And thus I had a lot of experiences in relation to post-traumatic stress disorders. That gave me the conviction that Ergosoma could be a great help for people suffering from these disorders. And these experiences helped me in the project Ergosoma Migra. Because in Germany in 2016, the ZIP was mainly frequented by people from war countries like Syria, like Chechnya, who were also suffering from PTSD. They desperately needed help. So Ergosoma was the obvious choice to help to release the deeply rooted trauma.
Yes, and Serap, how did the war situation that Bärbel mentioned abroad, the war, afflict your center?
Yes, when more traumatized people came to ZIP, I noticed an increase in dizziness and restlessness among my team and myself. The strong energies vibrated throughout the center. It was clear to me that this was related to the experiences and feelings the people have made in the war. Most of them came from Syria. They brought these feelings like fear and uprooting in our center. We could empathize with the traumatized people who came to us and wanted to support them in their healing. At the beginning, I thought that these feelings came from myself and that it has something to do with my sensitivity. Later then, one of my co-workers went to the hospital with physical complaints, but nothing could be found. Others got headaches and heart chases without a medical report. I worried about the health of my team, and I realized that I have to care about us.
So there was really so much pain and so much trauma. How could you personally handle it? How could you cope?
Yes, it was really difficult to cope with this situation. During my personal Ergosoma training with Bärbel, I noticed and felt how much strength and peace Ergosoma gave me, and came up with the idea of bringing Bärbel to our center into ZIP. It was clear to me that I could not carry this alone and that I wanted to share this strength that Ergosoma gave me with my co-workers, hoping that they would learn to take care of themselves and be strengthened for the challenging situation in our center.
Bärbel, what was the first aid you could offer to Serap?
Well, first of all, Serap invited me to deliver speeches about Ergosoma and give treatments at the ZIP. There was such a high demand and need. And very soon I realized that I could not do it on my own. And so the project of Ergosoma Migra was born. It was a project to give sustainable help to the traumatized, but also to Serap's team, who were starting to feel the strain. A proper qualification for her co-workers.
The qualification to become an Ergosoma practitioner is quite intense. So you set up a new qualification step plan that responds to the specific urgent needs of Serap's center. So what was your aim?
Well, I wanted to teach them how to empower themselves with meditations and exercises. You could say, help the helpers, and at the same time qualify them so that they could help more people at the ZIP. The qualification lasted 1.5 years, and we had a total of 16 qualification days. All days were followed up by a manual so that the participants could refresh their memories at home. So a lot of work to do. And therefore, on our first day of the qualification, I asked the participants, what is your wish from this qualification? And Zara from Chechnya, whom you were seeing on the massage table, I don't know if you can see her, I think the foil is not on, but anyway, she said, during the war, I closed my heart. What I experienced was too terrible. Now I hope that I can learn to open it up again in due time. Yeah, there you can see Sarah.
Yes.
I can still feel how touched I was by her words. The participants came with a lot of burdens, and so you can well imagine that it was really demanding work. But after each qualification day, my heart was singing and my soul was really happy. And so we began our journey together.
Thank you. Well, Monica, when we begin this inner journey, what are the basics that teaches the health philosophy of Ergosoma?
Yes, basically it is a philosophy of the inner core. We all have a perfect inner core, where our self-healing forces are coming from. But at first, let's take a look at the word ergosoma. Ergo means form, everything visible and measurable. Soma means the level of being, the invisible, the indivisible world. It is like a bridge between form and being, body and mind, left brain, right brain, inside, outside, and it makes connection. Connection is essential. Maybe it is the meaning of life.
Monica?
Yeah, as studies and research at the University of Witten-Herdecke, Germany, by Dr. Markus Köhl have shown, oh, was die Folie?
Yes, that's no, I think there's something
wrong with the PowerPoint.
Yes, but just go ahead.
It
Yes,
doesn't
there
matter.
it is. Let's go ahead. Well,
Oh,
thank
there
you.
were studies in Germany at the University of Witten-Herdecke by Dr. Markus Köhl, and it was shown that one ergosoma treatment of only 20 minutes has many positive results. You see it on the screen, yes, now. It is remarkable that the EEG, the measurement of brain waves, shows a deep mental relaxation with a higher awareness at the same time. And what I also really like is that every organ system first comes into its own healthy rhythm, then all systems find together into a common rhythm. What a great connection. I would say in this state of equilibrium, the self-healing powers are activated.
So the effects are measurable, but how do I connect to the invisible?
With your breath. Every breath connects the visible and the invisible. If we add the heartbeat and let both together come into a common rhythm, then we reconnect with our inner core. Ergosoma practitioners always turn to this inner core we all have. It is a healthy core of wisdom in every little cell, which is fundamentally the manual of our whole body. It is a healthy inner core in our heart, which enables us to live in harmony and peace. Unfortunately, the inner core isn't free, usually. There was so much negative information we receive every moment, bad experiences, circumstances, fear, confusion, poisoned food, and so on, which lays around the inner core and blocks it. Several illnesses and depressions are rooted here. So it is necessary to clean the access to our inner core, to come in deeper touch with our inner resources. And this is where Ergosoma starts. At first, the blocked energies begin to flow again. You can feel it. You can feel it as a deeper relaxation in the body, a deeper calm in your nervous system, a silence in your mind, and your emotions are fine and well balanced. And suddenly, your intuition steps in.
And how do we work with Ergosoma?
Oh, for working with Ergosoma, we just need two things. We need our hands and our awareness. That's all. We can practice it everywhere.
Thank you. Serap, when you are looking back at the work with Ergosoma, what was touching for you? What did you and your team learn?
Yes, it touched my heart to be connected with a higher energy that makes me strong to give. In Ergosoma, while touching the body, you also reach the spirit and the soul. It creates peace inside and outside. The practitioner is not only giving, at the same time receiving during the treatment. That is really an incredible gift. I always feel a strong connection which reaches far beyond the single treatment. Yes, at the photo there you can see Sarah Hatsieva, a member of my team. Bärbel mentioned she is this person at the beginning of the qualification with a lot of, or a great burden. And at the end of the qualification, Sarah said, after 13 years of war, everything was dark inside of me. Now I found the pure inner calm, the light from heaven. And this, it makes me happy and grateful that Ergosoma gives us an effective instrument in our hands.
Bärbel, as we have seen, for practicing Ergosoma, it seems we have to be two persons. So what can I do on my own when I'm alone, as Serap said, in order to take care of myself?
Well, first of all, you can also practice Ergosoma as a form of self-healing, because you yourself have two hands, which can be placed according to your body wisdom on various parts of your body. Just listen where your body is calling you. Then going into a meditative kind of consciousness, you can treat yourself. We, all of us, have this self-healing power. Another very effective tool is the so-called Tree of Life meditation. This meditation harmonizes and strengthens our main energy centers and helps us to come into connection with our inner core. It refines all our energy bodies and puts body and mind into a balance, harmony, and order. Especially for the Ergosoma practitioner, this meditation is a daily must because we need the art of perception so that with our intuition, we are guided through the various steps of the treatment. And when working with clients with PTSD, it is so very important that the practitioner is able to contact her inner core in order to come into contact with the inner core of the client.
So Bärbel, you mentioned the importance of the Tree of Life meditation, and I would like to ask Monica, could you please demonstrate something practical for us?
Yes, with pleasure. So now let's strengthen our immune systems with a Tree of Life meditation in a short version. So please close your eyes, direct your attention on your body, sitting on a chair in a comfortable position. Settle in your breath, slowing down. Feel your back, your spine, shoulders. Relax them. Your neck, head, arms. Relax them. The hands are laying on the knees, both feet on the ground. And be aware of your breathing. The inhale, the exhale, the up and down of your belly. And now we are directing our attention to our feet, just feeling the contact of the feet with the ground. Imagine that roots are growing into the earth, deep into the earth. And on each out-breath, just letting go all tension through the roots into the earth. With every out-breath, let go. Just sink a little bit deeper in the floor as you let go. And now, by the next inhale, put your hands on your belly. Feel the warmth of your hands. And imagine a big tree with deep roots, a strong trunk, and a beautiful crown, your tree of life. And now we are going a step further. We are putting the index fingers on our navel. The fingertips are touching the navel. Here you are connected with your mother, with the mother of your mother, with your origin, your own rhythm, your own color, your very own self. And now with the next inhale, we put the hands on our heart, feeling the heartbeats, the warmth of our heart, spreading out through our whole body like waves. And now, with the next inhale, we lift our hand in front of our head, our forehead, our eyes. And now we stroking our eyebrows, very gentle, stroking the eyes, the forehead. As if we were removing veils. Now we stretch both arms right over the head to the sky. And let a light is coming from above. We open our arms wide, our hearts wide, like a blossom opens to the sky. Let the light flow inside the heart. We take the healing energy, bring it slowly down the backside of our head to our neck. Little bit stroking our neck, very friendly. Let the healing energy flow through our spine. We are putting our hands on our ears, going further to the throat and to the chest. Tipping with the fingertips lightly our chest. Now we lay our both hands on our heart. We're looking for our inner core, to connect with our inner core. Feel the silence. We take this energy, perfect energy and light, and bring our hands to our stomach. Let it flow to the stomach, into the kidneys and the backside, into the navel and your belly. Now we put our hands on our knees again. Feel our feet and roots in Mother Earth. Let the divine energy flow into the earth. We connect heaven and earth. And with the next inhale, we're closing our energy fields. We put the left hand on the right shoulder. The head turns to the right. Breathing in, back to the middle, breathing out. And the right hand on the left shoulder. The head turns to the left side. Inhale. Head into the middle. Exhale. Stay a moment. So just feel your new forces. I hope you are refreshed and relaxed and full of awareness at the same time. Open your eyes, stretch a little bit.
Thank you, Monica. You wanted to announce something?
Yes, I'm waiting for the PowerPoint. Not there. Maybe. We offered practical exercises on basic ergosoma skills already twice at New York. And now we offer the Tree of Life meditation in a free webinar on Zoom. It's tomorrow on 7 p.m. CAT. You can watch, yes, you can watch the link there on the screen. And we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monica. And this meditation, what we have been practicing, also the petitions of the Ergosoma Migra project learned. And as we are a little bit running out of time, I would like just give Bärbel and Serap a chance to say something, some closing remarks on the project. So Bärbel, the day the qualification was over and you handed over the certification, what was your personal conclusion?
Well, looking back, I wanted to help the suffering people in the ZIP, but another part of my vision was I wanted to build bridges, or you could also say I wanted to reconcile different cultures or religions, because in those days we had a lot of migrants coming in, And after a warm and welcome atmosphere, German people were getting quite reluctant and starting to perceive migrants as a big problem. And one could even say as a threat to their own culture, to their Western values. And so reconciliation was needed. I felt on the day of the certification that we really had made a contribution. The day was so joyful. Serap, do you remember?
Yes, Bärbel, of course I do. Yes, we started with a vision of peace, trust, reconciliation, and empowering with this method of Ergosoma. And I was so glad, yes, that we reached this goal. The certification was very important for the participants and also for us. Yes, I want to underline that it was important, yes, as individuals, Bärbel and me, to take the first steps and pursue this vision. Despite the hindrances which I was having here with the functionaries at the tip while introducing this method, I would do it again. We were doing really pioneering work that was worth it. And we would not have made it this far on our own. Yes, you say on the photo, a fusion from the Ergosoma International and ZIP, yes. And the structural support of the Ergosoma Association and the management of our parent company, Die Kurbel, are our backbone. With this backing, we were able to gain more resources, networks, and functionaries as further support with this innovative project.
Thank you very much, Serap and Bärbel. And coming back to the main theme of this conference, the full participation of women. Your project, Ergosoma Migra, overcame limits on various levels. One learning is respect and transform individual traumatic experience into personal growth, qualification and sustainable change. All the women you can see on the picture it's the picture 19, yes, are, no, one ahead, please. All these women are agents of change to create inclusive societies. Better social services like help, promote resilience, and remove stigma and stereotypes. So Bärbel, I'm sure you are having already a new vision of where to go, but maybe you can tell us shortly, what are the lessons you learned that might be helpful for the implementation of other female-led projects?
Well, for a project, I would say the igniting spark, maybe Gringo can make this foil as well, is a vision. Yes, because this vision should be guided by your heart. And in our case, it was the deep wish to help the helpers, the traumatized people, and the wish for reconciliation. So combined with a pure motivation and a clear awareness, you will find in yourself the perseverance to see your project through, especially if you want to introduce a new method like Ergosoma in Germany. You need a lot of perseverance. But you will also need friends or supporters who will encourage you, because as Serap said already, we faced a lot of hindrances, but Serap and me were continuously supporting each other. You need the more physical level, like finances, a reliable network, functionaries, equipment, infrastructure, and we were so lucky to be supported on this level as well. And all of these pieces, all of these aspects were like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, coming to a wonderful whole. And it was really wonderful, Serap, that we both were guided towards each other because we fit like a key into a lock. I knew the method, she had the need and the setting. And so together we shared the same vision. That was the bonding link between us. So
United, yes, please. We have 3 minutes left. Yeah.
United, we are strong.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
ladies, we are strong, but united, we are even stronger.
These are wonderful closing remarks. Thank you very much, Bärbe, Serap, and Monika. That was wonderful. United, we are even stronger. That is a wonderful conclusion. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much all. So, and we will now be closed. Are you still there, everybody? Yes, I can see. So thank you very much. Let me just also give some little words on behalf of the foundation. I would like to thank all speakers and participants once again. We have heard that subjective experience lead to deeper self-awareness. The more one sees life as flawless, brings me the state of peace. Contemplative dialogue helps to resolve conflicts between different individuals, groups, and genders. We have learned how difficult the life situation is for young women and girls to protect themselves from violence and humiliation. But there's also hope that more and more young women and girls will recognize their strengths and have the courage to free themselves from the present living conditions. Ergosoma International helps to strengthen the inner core. It was moving to hear how women with a fellow migrant background came back into their own strength. So thank you very much. God bless you all. And
thank you.